Hey everyone, Zhao. Today, special guest, writer and artist, Stone. How you
Thanks
doing?
for having me on today.
Thanks for coming.
I pre- yeah, I'm excited to be here. It's always great to, you know, be a guest, and I appreciate it. Thanks for sharing your audience with me today.
Well, I'm glad to hear. New face for the channel. So why don't you give us a quick introduction? You could begin
Yeah,
with.
well, my name is Luke Stone. I'm a writer and artist. I do a book called Hybrids: The Sons of Gods, which is uh, getting ready to crowdfund its eighth book in the series. So we're doing pretty good there. I'm also getting ready to launch several new IPs this year. So I'm pretty excited about that. Where I've kind of come up with a concept, and I'm working with other writers. I'm writing a few things for other people this year as well. So it's kind of a good year to do those things. I recently fought a battle with COVID and won, so it almost got the yeah, it almost got the better of me. So, but I did come out victorious, and then yeah, so that yeah, I've done a lot um, uh, in the recent few months. But there was probably about 5 6 months where people didn't hear from me much at all. But yeah, we're back, baby.
Awesome. So, one of the interesting things about you, as opposed to most of the guests I've had on, is that you are both a writer and an artist. Um,
Yeah.
So, how do you find managing both? Is it difficult to switch from writer mode to artist mode?
That's a good question. I don't think anyone's ever asked that. It kind of is sometimes. If I'm in art mode, like drawing mode, I just want to be at the tablet. I want to be getting my work done. But when it's time to write, you kind of have to get in a different mindset. So it's it's not just following what has already been written down. It's trying to create that idea, and that kind of that world um, that's going to be drawn. So yeah, there's a bit of a difference there. So yeah, it's
Yeah, I think a lot of people, would say the same thing. Where if you're a writer and you're sort of like in the flow, like that's it. I just have to keep writing
yeah.
until everything's out of my mind. And same thing for people on the art side. Um, but how do you? Oh, we were getting some mic echoes.
Yeah, is it from me or from you? Guess
Um,
that'd be the question.
I think it's from you because I can hear it when I talk.
You hear an echo when I talk?
No, I hear an echo when I talk.
Oh, no, I'm plugged in. Earbuds. Oh, those fun tech issues. Let me check my mic settings.
Sorry. Yeah.
I'm set up to external.
Hmm, I am too. Um,
I hear a lot of room noise from your mic.
all right, how's this better?
That is better, yeah. That's cleaner.
Hmm. Uh-oh, I can't hear. Okay, hang on a second.
Oh, fun, fun.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Sound a little better?
it does. It sounds pretty good.
Uh, sorry about that. I'm running my own stream right off the start. But going back to it, so do you have to like segment your time? Like, is one day writing day, is another day um, drawing day, or like do you say like, well, in the morning I'm going to do this, in the afternoon I'm going to do that?
It's usually segmented to days on kind of what I'm feeling. Um, when I get close to a writing deadline, though, I have a tendency to uh, have to have to force it, so to speak. So I'm like, oh, it's like, oh, crap, I got to get writing done today. So I cancel everything else and I just sit down and start writing. I have to make myself sometimes do it. I do have a lot of ideas in my head, and I find that arcing out a story and doing the big plot lines of a story work really well for me, and I really enjoy those. and that's easy for me. It's the getting down and doing the scripting, the page by page stuff sometimes that can get a little tedious for me, and I'm like, I just want to keep moving on, and so that becomes a little more work for me, I think, than just drawing. So
Okay. And do you have anything special you do that, like, to prepare yourself? Like, for example, a lot of artists will listen to music when they're drawing. Um, a lot of writers will say, "Oh no, I can't listen to music." Is there different ways to get your mind in the right mode?
yeah, I'm a music guy. I always love music. So if I'm drawing, I'm listening to music. If I'm writing, um, I try to I try to listen to new music, things that maybe have a mood to it,
Hmm.
so that I can kind of get that vibe. You know, if I'm writing a battle scene or something, if I'm needing to come up with ideas for that, then I try to listen to music that kind of evokes an emotion, so that I can kind of feel it a little bit. Um, like I got the inspiration for a story once, um, that I'm still kind of trying to name, but I was listening to a song, one of those '90s angsty songs, and it just kind of inspired this idea for a story of these young superheroes that really kind of mess up a bunch, and it like causes irreparable damage to their physicality and their mentality. And where we kind of jump into the story is years in the future from kind of this big event that just really rocked them, and it's really dark, a really kind of sinister story, where these three teammates try to heal and reconcile and step up to kind of face the guy that totally wrecked their lives, a number of years ago. So yeah, so music plays a big part in kind of my kind of creation process, and my work process. So
So when you're writing, can you listen to music with lyrics while you're writing?
yeah, I can. I do turn it down a little bit, because what I want to do is I want to get into my mind and kind of explore my mind palace, so to speak, and allow myself to kind of live in that world. And I think the thing about kind of how my mind works with writing is, when you're thinking about a location, smells, sounds, and things like that kind of come into play. And so I like the idea of imagining the soundtrack of a world,
Mhm.
or of a story, and kind of imagining what it smells like, what it feels like, and trying to connect with the world and then with the characters. So yeah, I listen to stuff with lyrics. It's usually a little bit lower than when I'm drawing. When I'm drawing, it's usually a little bit louder,
Hmm.
so that I can cut out all the other distractions. Because drawing's a pretty fast process for me, especially since a few years ago, I learned that in order for me to work at the pace I want to, I have to hire a layout and rough guy, and so I
Oh,
hire
interesting.
I hire a guy to do all my layouts, and he's gotten really good to where I don't have to change any of those now. There used to be kind of early on, I'd fix a couple. I'm like, okay, I don't like that panel or this, and I would choose something different. But he's been working with me for so long now. I'm actually getting ready to start working with him just as the artist, because post COVID, I'm not able to work as fast as I used to, because you know, one of those things, I wound up having a lot of acute post COVID issues like chronic pain and different nerve issues. I've lost the use of my left arm,
Ooh,
mostly. It's some of it's coming back, but
that's
it's
good.
more like a blunt instrument instead of
Fine,
a
cool.
fine tool
Yeah.
instrument. Yeah. So yeah, it's yeah. So I'm trying to figure out life with that, but um, he's kind of knows my style well enough now to where he could draw probably an entire story, and you would notice the difference, obviously, but it would still have the basic feel, because he's been doing my layouts now for 2 years, I think, 2 years,
Oh,
two and a
wow.
half years, maybe more. And so yeah, we've been working well together. So when it comes time to pencil and ink, it's a really fast process for me because I don't have to think about the script. I have the
Hmm.
script up so I can remember it. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to do, and then I'll make little changes here or there that just kind of fit, more what I had in mind. But he's really good at kind of looking at the script and knowing what I'm thinking. So um, yeah, so it works out really well. So art process is a lot faster than the writing process for me. I put a whole lot more thought into writing a page because I know I'm going to be handing it off to somebody else to write, to kind of do that initial layout and rough. Even if I'm drawing it, if I'm not drawing it, I put even more detail into it, knowing that somebody else is going to have to interpret my thoughts. And so, as an artist, I try to think about what I would like
Hmm.
from a script that a writer has given me, and so I just try to put that in my scripts that I write. So yeah,
Oh, that's awesome. So pre-COVID,
yeah.
um, about how long would you say it took you to make a book?
Well, I could, if I buckled down, I could do 7 to 9 pages a week, inks, pencils, and inks. Um, so I was typically knocking out a book every other month because I had my colorist taking the pages as soon as I was done with it, and then I would letter, or I'd have a letterer. I did have a problem with one letterer quitting, kind of
Mm.
midstream, because she got on Twitter and found out that I have a big Comicsgate uh, base, and she just did not care for that. So I had to find a new letterer, and so I've been working with a couple other people. I've lettered post COVID. I lettered quite a bit, but I haven't even tried lettering since. It's really tedious and difficult to type right now with one hand. And but yeah, so I'm working with a couple other people. Eric Weathers actually lettered the latest book, so it's good. The lettering is good on that. Um,
This is like sort of like a Comicsgate standard, like if I'm looking for a book, I don't know quality. Oh, Eric's awesome, so it's probably
yeah,
right.
yeah. He's kind of a go-to guy too. If you've got a decent book and it needs lettered, he's kind of the guy to go to. So he's fast and he's professional, and uh, I'll tell you, when we went to do the editing, normally I have to make suggestions on moving bubbles here or there. And he gets it. It was it was like near perfect on the first go, and with the exception of little grammar things that we had to fix. But yeah, did a fantastic job on it.
Um, so we were talking a little bit back to and talking about not only do you have a new book coming out for hybrids,
Yeah.
but you mentioned other IPs. How do you think the COVID will affect that in terms of you know getting getting your projects out this year?
The big thing that it's affecting is since I still have several books that I'm planning for the hybrids um, arc. I'm in the process right now of drawing and having colored issue 9, so it hopefully will be done in a few weeks. Um, and then I've got 3 more books planned until I have my kind of like my pausing point for that. And I need to focus on that for art, and so everything else I'm kind of hiring out. That's the big thing that it's affecting. So it's costing me a little bit more money than it would before because I'm actually hiring out the artists.
Yeah.
Now I was gonna get new colorists anyway and try a few out, but yeah, the art thing is different. So I had a guy, Eric Hodson, just finished 8 pages for kind of the introduction to the story that I did. Brian Dawson, my layout guy, just did is finishing up 6 pages or 8 pages of another kind of mini story called Juror 13 that I came up with a concept with, and I'm working with a writer named Edward Davis to bring that to life. He's got a very interesting dark style, and this is a very interesting dark kind of uh, concept that I came up with, and we've kind of arced out. And I'm like, hey, can you work on scripting this out and kind of making this happen? And he's did a wonderful job. He really captured the feel of where we're going with it. So that's coming out. In fact, um, that is actually going to be, pardon me, that's actually going to be the backup story in book 8. So when you get book 8, that's the backup story for it, is Juror 13. And then uh, for Rift Riders, which is a book I'm working on with Piper Steed, who is my editor. She's writing this one. It's another concept that I came up with. It's a kind of a Doctor Who meets the Lost Boys, if you will. And it's pretty interesting. And so she's writing that, and we've got 6 pages, or 5 pages of that we had produced. Another artist did that book, did that mini that kind of mini story, and it's in Hybrids issue 1 remastered. But we're that artist Martha is she's a great artist, but it wasn't quite the look and feel that we were going for that story. So we hired Dillard of Dillard Draws, and he's kind of captured that look. And so we will be re-releasing those pages in a book that's going to have all these mini stories and a couple other ones called Other Realms. So we'll be launching that, and that book will help us to pay to get the full books made. So that's how we'll do that. It'll help with production on the full stories. But it's kind of like a mini anthology, like an anthology of just worlds that I've created, that I've collaborated with other people to make happen. So it's pretty fun. But yeah, the biggest thing COVID affected is my ability to my energy level to do it all myself. So I have to hire things out.
So now that you're working with all these other people, do you sort of see in the future that maybe you would head into a little bit more of a publisher arrangement as opposed to like writing and drawing everything?
Yeah, I kind of, and I kind of feel like that might be a really good option for me at this point. Not necessarily a publisher, because right now my stuff is being published through Arrow Comics. So Randy Zimmerman, the great Randy Zimmerman, is my publisher. But I'm definitely, so the Luke Stone Studios I'm the head of. It's kind of a sub studio that does all the creating. I kind of see that becoming more prominent in the future, where I kind of create the universes as the kind of the story runner, and I work with other writers and artists to make it happen. And I'm kind of okay with that. And I hope the viewers, I hope they don't take this as being arrogant, because I'm not trying to be arrogant at all. But it's been a long time since we've had a Stan Lee in the comics world, or we've had a Chris Claremont, where they create these massive worlds that tend to overlap and people can have fun with. And I think the reason why we don't have that is because the way the mainstream comic industry is set up, they just keep kind of recycling what Stan created, and even Chris was, reimagining a world that Stan had already established. And it's very difficult for someone new to come into these big publishers and to create something brand new, because they have such great IPs that they want to reimagine and kind of redo. But there's a lot of creativity in the independent market, and it's difficult for an independent guy like myself to do something like that because of time and money. Most of us are lucky to get a book or 2 books out a year, because it's just how much it costs to produce one single book, and how much time it costs. So if you're the writer and artist, it could take ages to get a book done. So it's important to work with these teams like they did back with the bullpens of, those early days. And so that's what I'm trying to do right now, is be that, is maybe I can create these worlds that will give readers a chance to dive into something brand new and have those worlds connect and overlap in some way. And so I'm not arrogant enough to say I'm I want that I'm going to be the next Stan Lee, but I am ambitious enough to tell you I want to be. I want to be that guy. Yeah, I agree. I think Peter Simeti is probably the closest thing that we've got in crowdfunded comics, but he's working with other people's IPs and their ideas. This is kind of a new thing where I'm working with my own ideas, and so everything that Luke Stone Studios produces is something that I've got my fingers in, that's part of my idea, my thought pattern. And yeah, I collaborate with these other writers, and they kind of flesh things out beyond where I'm thinking. But it's definitely a Luke Stone book, in there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think Peter Simeti is sort of the inheritor to Stanley's legacy in terms of like being a good front man and
Yeah.
always being positive and promoting things.
Oh yeah.
But you're right, he doesn't have a lot to do with each individual book. They usually come
Yeah.
to him after they've already been at least written and mostly produced.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, back in the day, Stan had his fingers in every single one of those books, making sure that everything was still on brand.
Yeah. That's kind of what I want to do. Do I have a favorite creator to collab with? Man, that is, gosh, that's a tough question because I
Like
don't want
asking
to.
to pick your favorite child.
Yeah. Um, I don't want to offend anybody I'm working with. They're like, I'm not your favorite. I would have to say my favorite person to collab with is probably Brian Dawson, because he's the only one that I use to do my own layouts. I work with other artists to produce comics, but he gets me in a way that other creators don't. And actually, on Juror 13, he's doing the art, the colors, and the letters. So he's doing all that, and he's probably going to do the same for a triple play book. So one of my characters is an archer who is actually triplets that merge into one. Instead of one person that separate into three, it's three people that merge into one. But that's kind of a secret for a while. Like, we don't really tell that bit of his story all at once.
Mhm.
It's kind of revealed later. But so anyone watching is getting a spoiler, so to speak. But he's probably going to do the 6-page backup story for that as well. We're going to add that as a stretch goal on this next campaign. So I think we're looking at 3,000 to fund the book, and then
Okay, pretty reasonable.
yeah, and then I think at 4,000 we're gonna include a backup story. We're gonna do a metal trading card with the triple. I got a nice piece done with triple play, and then we're gonna do a patch again as a stretch goal with one of them. I'm
Very
not
cool.
sure. I'm not sure what level yet. I've picked the patch. I'm just waiting for the mock-up to show up. So pretty psyched about that. I always love the patches, but we're doing a lot of metal this time around. I'm doing a metal cover tier, and I'm doing a couple of metal prints. So that's a lot of fun.
Very
But yeah,
nice.
so Brian's probably my favorite collaborator in general. My favorite editor that I've ever worked with is Piper. I think my favorite writer, man, that's a real toss up. I mean, Piper's really good when it comes to writing, and I'm always happy with her stuff. But I think the one that I've used more is Shane Almond
Okay,
from the
interesting.
UK. He is, I mean, we come from different worlds, but he offers a fresh take on some of these things. He has done 12 pages of a story called The Runner that six of which have already been produced, and they're available in the remastered version of issue 2 of Hybrids as a backup story. and will also be available in the Other Realms book. Um, but he's written 6 more pages that I'm going to be drawing, and he's taking over writing for the Triple Play book. So I've worked with him on more scripts, and I think that I have more of a writing relationship with him. So not that the other ones, not that I don't like them, but probably the one I have the best writing relationship with right now is Shane, and that may change, but I like working with Shane. He's fun to work with.
Excellent. And speaking of the killing fields,
Yeah.
why don't you? Well, actually, let's go here. So at the moment, you have the sign up,
Hmm.
and it's going live soon, right?
It's going live Monday night on Lord Crackhead's show. So this will be the first time I actually have a launch stream. Normally I just quietly hit the launch button and you know, just let it roll. But, you know, this is my first campaign back. Now this book was finished, art and color, before I got sick. And it was actually supposed to launch. So I got sick in August, went into the ICU. They intubated me, they put me to sleep on August 30th.
Oh wow.
And I was out the entire month of September and some of October. And I was actually supposed to launch this book last September. So this is pre-COVID work. It's been done. Been waiting to be finished and to launch. So um,
Right.
so I thought we should really have a big launch.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So why don't you sort of run us through what are the hybrids and what is the killing field?
Yeah, sure. So um, uh, each arc is separate, but they connect. It's so I do legacy numbering on the books. So this is technically issue 8, but it is part 3 of the Killing Field. So I started out the story with the Trash Day arc, and they didn't quite understand Trash Day. That's kind of weird. But once you read the story, you get it. So it starts on a normal work day for this guy named Clarence, but his nickname is Trash Man because that's what he does for a living. He's a trash man, and it starts with him picking up trash with his coworker Brian, where he gets interrupted by this drone with a little talking screen on it that tells him that somebody's coming, and it doesn't mean good for him, and he needs to run. And so during that process, he winds up finding out kind of why he has, number one, that he has some new powers and why he has them, and kind of all of this underlying backstory. And so, long story short, not to give away too much for people that want to read that series, but basically, these characters are the genetic offspring of the Greek gods, who are actually just an embellishment of the real life Nephilim that are talked about in a lot of major religions, but specifically in Genesis chapter 6 of the Bible that a lot of us read. And so those real life Nephilim inspired the Greek gods, and these are the genetic offspring. So these people are walking around with the kind of the DNA, the recessive trait of the Nephilim. And something happens and it wakes that up, and they start developing these awesome powers. And what's happening during that is these people that get these powers are being abducted, and so they chase it down to this corporation, and then that's the Trash Day arc, and then we start the Killing Field arc, which takes place 6 months after that arc ends, and you'll learn more about the characters. There's been some stuff that's happened in the off season. Relationships have been built, friendships have been formed, and they are learning now bigger things and newer things about this company called the Hybrid Engineering Corporation. And what they think, they're coming into this process that they're going to put an end to these bad guys. But the whole while, the game master, if you will, has been pulling the strings. And there's this kind of a secret plot as a trap. And the team gets split up. That happened in the last issue. In this issue, um, we're telling the story about what happens while they're split up, and then they converge. They start to converge at this place called the Stardust Motel, and that is the killing field. And our book ends with the beginning of that battle, and the next book is that entire battle. So yeah, it's pretty big and it's pretty epic, and pretty excited for people to get the story. It's very dynamic. We do a lot of character development in this, but we also do it through plot-driven action. So there's a lot of violence and booms and pows and bangs and whiffs and all that kind of stuff.
Uh, that's very cool. Um, so you were mentioning Archer before. Is this in the
Yes.
same world as Archer, or
Yeah, yeah. It's the same universe. The Archer gets introduced in issue 4, or part 4 of the of Trash Day, and he's a part of the team, and he's been sticking around since then with our basically our team of watchers here, and he's part of the squad for now. He's kind of a archer for hire, but he's got a personal vendetta against hybrid engineering, which is something that Shane will tell in the Archer story on why. And yeah, so this guy that's here, part of this story, the backup story will be part of his backstory before he meets this team. So
okay? And one thing I noticed about this, which I thought was interesting, you have the bronze trash human bust. Are you
the
actually
trash man bust, yeah.
selling bronze? They're actual bronze?
No, they're not bronze.
Okay.
They're faux bronze. They are 3D printed. That's why I show the picture of the 3D printed file next to the bronze finished. So, pardon me. Each one will be slightly unique because they're all hand painted, and we're limiting this to 10. Um, yeah, we're limiting this to only 10 because I'm doing them myself, and
Oh wow.
I can't 3D print as quickly as I used to, and I can't do the finishing quickly as I used to because I'm down to one hand. So I'm going to be using the help of my daughter or my son to kind of bring a hand in there to help me out with these things. And I
Nice.
also can't do the spray stuff because I'm still on oxygen, so
Oh,
I
okay.
can't do that. So they have to do the clear coat for me. So yeah, so it's going to take a little while for me to finish all 10 of those. I've got several of them already started, and I'm going to be printing the rest of them here over the course of the next couple weeks and getting those finished for fulfillment date in July. So yeah, they're not actual bronze, but they look like bronze.
Yeah, definitely. That center one looks like bronze.
Yeah,
So are these specifically for the pre-sign up, or will these be available as a tier in the regular campaign?
they're actually available as a tier. It is a special tier that has, and I think it's I don't have a picture of for it yet, but it's the $100 tier down at the bottom. So there's two big tiers. One is the metal cover tier. I don't have a picture loaded yet for it,
Hmm.
but it's going to have the physical, all the physical stretch goals. It's going to have hybrids 8, the cover B, hybrid 7. So you get Killing Field parts 1 through 3, plus the bronze statue, and I will probably add a couple of bronze statues as an add-on tier for people that want it. So I might be able to do 5 more, um, and reasonably be able to get those done. So I'll probably add that as an add-on tier. So I'm still setting up a couple of things before launch on Monday, and so yeah, it is going to be available there. But I'm also adding as an add-on. If you do 3D printing yourself, I'm going to
Hmm.
have the 3D print files that you
Oh,
can
cool.
the 3D files that you can download and print those yourself. So I'm going to add that as a add-on tier for I think $5 is all we're going to ask for that, so that
Oh, it's
people
not bad at all.
can do the printing themselves if they want to. But if you want something printed and handmade by yours truly, then that tier is probably the one for you. Yeah.
All right. So this is the super secret, will be launched on Monday page.
Yeah, yeah.
We did a
I don't
preview.
have the video up yet because I'm adding the voiceover today on that. I obviously my voice, I had some damage to my vocal cords because of the vent, and so there's a lot of scar tissue there. So my voice doesn't have the same quality that it used to, and my lung capacity obviously has been diminished. So I don't have the voiceover voice that I once had to do all that stuff myself. So I've had to ask a friend to do that. And so actually today I just got files from Randy Zimmerman right before I came on the show of the voiceover for that for that video. So I'll be adding that today and loading the video today. So that's not up there yet, but most of the campaign is done. I'm not adding any more physical tiers. So what you see is kind of what you get. I'll probably throw a few more pictures into the about or the content section, but for the most part, the campaign is finished with just the addition of a few pictures.
Excellent. So the Dungeon Delver asks about the bust, resin or PLA?
These are PLA, the ones that I'm doing. I might get 5 resin ones done, so instead of for the add-ons, because I have a friend who prints resin, and he could probably get 5 of them out to me pretty quick. So so that's what I'm looking at. Because I've got some friends that do 3 printing, so I'm gonna have to employ their services again, because I'm diminished in my ability to work at the level that I used to.
Sure.
So I can still do some things, but it does require 2 hands to level a 3 print bed, and I don't have use of 2 hands. So that's a thing I'm teaching my daughter how to do, and so she can help me get that set up so I can print these files. But yeah, so some of them are going to be PLA, but I think I'm going to do 5 add-ons that are resin. I'm still trying to talk to someone about getting that done today. So
And do you know what file format they'll be for the people?
yeah, I think it's a standard 3D file. I think SVR or something like that is the file format. If you give me just a second here, I can locate it.
Yeah, and I think that's good that you have your kids helping you on it. Back in the day, everybody's kids, when they were like,
Yeah,
8 years old or something, would be expected to go out in the fields and help farm, or
yeah.
help dad in the smithy shops. So
Uh,
why shouldn't kids, help their parents run the family comic business?
exactly. Oh, and that file format is STL. So they're
STS.
STL file. Yep. So they're STL. I've got several for different sizes. So I've got. So I'll throw all of those STL files in a folder and send out that link to anyone that buys that. That way, I've got a version where it's the top half and then the base, and then I've got one where it's the top half, the base, and the hair all separate, so that you can choose how you want to print that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so getting back to the actual campaign itself,
Yeah.
why don't you run us through the different tiers that you're going to have?
Sure. Well, the standard book, just that if you've been with the story the whole time and you just want to get the book, it's $15, and that's going to be the book and then all of the stretch goals that come along with it. That book right now is 32 pages, but if we hit one of the stretch goals, we're going to add more pages. So it's going to it's going to fatten up for this release. But yeah, so it's $15 kind of entry fee, if you will,
Hmm.
to the campaign. That's for the standard cover. I do have a Nitho Diaz cover available for 20. So it's basically the same tier, but just the more expensive cover. It is a better cover because Nitho, I think, is a better artist than I am, which is why I hire him to do covers. So he did a lot for this campaign because when I came back out of my nap, I hired him to do a couple more pieces, and I liked him so much I wanted to include him with this campaign instead of the next. So yeah, so I got that. I'm still adding the picture for 1 through 3. You'll be able to get cover A for all 3 issues of the Killing Field for 30, and then which I still playing around with that physical tier, and then the variant version of that, which is $20 more. I'm playing around with it,
All right.
so that may change a little bit before Monday. The special cover bundle is next, which is where you get the cover A, cover B, but you also get the special black cover. And depending on your screen, it may be easier to see the art than others. What it is, it's a black cover with a UV coating toner printed over it. So it's gloss. It's a flat matte cover, but it's gloss where the art is. So depending on your screen, you may be able to see some of that art or not, or how you have your settings set up for your to be able to view that. But
Yeah, it is a little hard to see on my computer, but I can definitely see
yeah,
that there's something there.
yeah, there's definitely art on it, and I'll one of the things I'm going to add is the black and white version of the art, so you know what's going to be printed on there. That's I still have to add that down at the bottom, but you get all three of those covers, and the black cover's limited. I only do 50 to 55 ish of that, depending on the pre-orders. I've not printed more than 50 so far, but it's a minimum of 50, a maximum of 60 covers that I do. So it's never going to be any more than that, and so that tier is limited. And then we're working on all three issues, part one, two, and three, with the variant covers. So I'm kind of still working on that. The next tier is you get the Nitho Diaz cover, and you get a print of his artwork and on metal. So that print is a metal print, which is going to be the same size, same dimensions as the
Oh, okay.
comic. But yes, it's going to be really cool. I'm having Phoenix Animation do that. I'm having Brandon do that. So it's gonna be awesome. I'm pretty excited about it. I can't wait to see it on metal myself. And hold it in my hand. I think it'd be really cool. The next tier is you get all three all three covers plus the metal print for anybody that's kind of a more serious collector and they want those things. And then it's the mini bust package, which I'm still working on the graphic for that. And then the big boy this time around is the metal cover variant. You're going to get the remastered issue 1, remastered issue 2. You're going to get the Killing Field Part 1, the Killing Field Part 2, and Part 3, the black cover, the standard cover, and for the Nitho Diaz cover, that one's going to be printed on metal. So it's going to be a metal cover on the actual book. So when you go to get that graded, it's probably going to be a 9.8 or better because
Nice.
they're going to be near flawless because of the metal cover. And so that's very limited. We're only doing 10 of those covers. And then you also get a limited run of the drawstring bag. So it's a hybrids printed. Brian Dawson did the art for that. It's one of the connected covers that we had before. But it's a cool piece of art. And so that's on the drawstring bag. And you get two metal prints. You get the Diaz cover, plus you get the kind of the sexy lady prints from two of the ladies in this book. So you get two metal prints with that, plus all the physical add-ons that we get from stretch goals. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, and there will be a secret tier that includes the issue 2, that special the we call it the hybrids lady pinup, the hybrids lady pinup metal print, and the Nitho Diaz cover and a bag, and so you also get the bag. But it's all of that's at a discounted price for people who are return customers. Basically, is what that is. Plus, you get all the add-ons that are available. We'll have the Trash Day trade paperback available, as well as the remastered floppies for
Okay.
issues 1 and 2. We're still waiting to get issue 3 relettered for the remaster, and then I hope to, by the next campaign, have all of the remastered books finished and ready to be ordered.
Oh, excellent. And so I'm kind of curious as to your view of how the industry itself is going. 2018 was big. We saw a small number of campaigns that often had very large backings. And last year, we saw a lot of newcomers do pretty well. how do you see 2022 is going? Is it do you see the indie scene increasing, or do you think that only the ones who are already established are succeeding, or how does it seem to you?
Um, well, I mean, we're only 3 months in to this year, and to be fair, I was out for half of January. I didn't actually get home until middle of January. 150 days um, in
That's a
hospital
long time.
facilities. That's a long time. But from what I can see, a lot of I think it depends. I I saw that one campaign did not fund from Dojo Kun, which it should have, and that surprised me. But I've also seen books like the third book of Perfect 10
Hmm.
is doing really well. Like it's way up there. Um, so I think it depends on the IPs. I do think you're going to see more high quality books come out this year from independents. I think you're going to see more people from the mainstream kind of side of comics come over to crowdfunding. I think you're already kind of seeing that happen. But I think you're going to see a lot of really good stuff. I think the more established IPs are probably going to do really well. Um, my last book, I did not. I don't think I cracked 5,000, 5K. Um, my trade paperback cracked 6K. Um, and quite honestly, I finished with just over 100 backers on my last campaign, and I know that like you got to try to strike while
Hmm.
the iron's hot. But being out for 5 months, I'm a little worried that it's taken me out of view of people, and that so any kind of growth beyond 100 backers, or even getting 100 backers this go around, I'm going to be super pleased with. If I can, I'm setting a flexible goal because I'm still going to produce the books, regardless of the money, but because it's all done, and so they
Hmm.
need to they need to be produced. But man, I would love, I would really love to see, to see 100 backers or better. So, fingers crossed, and I'm praying about it. But I noticed they said the audio is it my audio that's
No,
bad?
well, it's hard to say. They hear me echoing.
Okay.
I am not able to correct it, so I'm not quite sure what's going on with that.
You sound pretty good to me right now.
I don't know. I can hear myself echoing, but I've been playing with the settings and it doesn't seem to help.
Uh,
But Alois says, I think creators of Tim Lim and creators of Common America prove it's possible to build up obscure IP.
yeah, I think it is possible. I think it comes down to promotion. It's getting that, getting out in front of people, talking about it. That's why I, have provided the first 8 pages on this campaign so that you can read the first 8 pages of the book. Um, I kind of write all of my stories in 8 page increments so that it's, you know, so that it kind of tells a bit of a story that you can get into. Um, yeah.
Um, yeah. So, you mentioned that there seems to be industry professionals who are going to come to crowd funding. Do you think that they're going to find success, or do you think most of the success is going to be from people who have started their own grassroots campaign and built their own audiences this way?
Now, I think everybody that has any kind of mainstream connection that's been out there in the world is going to bring a number of people with them to anything that they create. So yeah, I don't expect a a larger name creator to come in and to not be successful. I think they will be very successful, and I'm happy about that. I think that there may be a few first time and we see this all the time, where a first time creator, you know, uh, has built up a good audience and they break the 10K mark. You know,
Hmm.
um, obviously, you try not to compare what you've been doing for years to somebody that's, their first book breaks 10K. I'm happy for them because that means, I think a rising tide lifts all ships.
Definitely.
But yeah, I think that it's going to be possible for some grassroots folks to see more success this year. Uh, but it's going to depend on how well they market themselves and their IP. But I do think that mainstream guys coming over into the crowdfunding world, I think they're bound to do good because they're going to have a number of audience. People follow them. Even if it's 200-300 people, that's enough to to break 5 digits.
Oh,
Easy,
definitely.
yeah, easy. So
Yeah, and I guess the other question is, what do we consider success in
yeah.
indies? What do you think makes a book successful?
Well, that's a really good question. Success can be measured differently, I think, for every book, for every creator. I think that if you have anybody want to come and buy your book, that's a great thing. Uh, I don't necessarily consider it successful if a person launches their first book and they break 10K and they don't fulfill on time. I don't, if they're not prepared to do those things, then it wasn't really a successful campaign. For me, a successful campaign is one that not only funds but delivers. So that's, once it's completed and that campaign, everybody's got their product, that for me is successful. And I think if you're able to do that and string two or three of those together, then that's successful. I think being able to grow your audience 10 to 15% for each campaign is successful. Especially if it's a number two or number three. That's a big deal. Number ones tend to bring out more people because of the collector mentality.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that will help crowdfund a number one, but they never really read the book. They're just grabbing the number one in hopes that maybe one day it'll be the next Ninja Turtles or something like that. So I've noticed that. But having the same amount or more people kind of sneak out for that or creep out for that second or third campaign, I think is successful, especially if you see some organic growth in that 10 to 15%. I think is I consider that successful. So it's not really based on a dollar amount or backer count. It's based on kind of the just wherever your baseline is.
Yeah, I do think you're definitely right about fulfilling the campaigns, at least relatively close to the time.
Yeah.
Um, do you think that's sort of become like a black mark on the indies market?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. In fact, I heard somebody make this statement. I don't agree with this. I don't agree with this person at all. Um, but I did hear him say that when you back a book, you shouldn't expect to get it. And I'm like, what? What kind of mentality is that? Especially from somebody who is talking about running a campaign. It's like, are you planning not to fulfill? Like that's just. Now I was late on a few of my packages for the last book, but to be fair, I almost died. I was in the hospital in the ICU, um, so I was not able to ship those packages out. But as soon as I was able to communicate again, I got my wife and daughter to get all those packages out before, I think, before November or December. Everybody got their packages before the holidays. So that was kind of something I was really trying to make sure we got done. So pretty excited about that. But for the most part, I think that it has become a kind of a stain for crowdfunding, and people don't expect to get their books, um, or they expect them to be very late. I'm seeing tons of people ask questions about that and doing surveys. If somebody has minimal communication about the lateness of their book, but it's a really good product, would you back them again? Um, I don't know. I don't know. Like I back um, some creators because I've gotten their books. You know, I know one creator that funds on Indiegogo, not Indiegogo, on Kickstarter.
Kickstarter.
Yeah, who tried to run a new campaign without fulfilling the book that I backed 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, no, that's not going to work for me. And
Yeah, I have had to implement a one book at a time policy myself because there are some people
yeah,
out there, God bless them, they want to get two, three books sort of made in a year. But if you're already running pretty behind on one,
yeah,
I'm gonna wait until you deliver that, and then I'll buy the
yeah,
second one.
yeah. And I think the good thing, with me, I've been doing crowdfunding since 2015. So I've gotten 25 plus different campaigns that I've been a part of running and fulfilling. So most people that have backed some of my projects, they know that they're going to get the book, like it's coming.
Mhm.
I also like to throw little extras in when I can, um, that they're going to get those. Like I do a chibi sticker for a lot of these campaigns. I've got one for this campaign of triple play, and I haven't, I haven't put it on any special thing yet because I think I'm going to make it a stretch goal. Like once we hit a certain number of backers, then everybody gets a chibi because they're just kind of cute and cool, right?
Yeah.
But people know that they're going to get the books. But with every campaign, hopefully it's a first time backer. I have at least a handful of first time backers, and they're going to wait to see if I get that book out on time. So even if you have a reputation of getting books out on time or relatively close to on time, you're going to hopefully pick up new backers. And so every campaign is an opportunity to solidify that relationship and that I'm having some COVID fog. The
No problem.
reputation, that reputation with with a new backer. So I think it's important to treat every campaign that way.
Um, so, what advice would you give to a newbie? They've got an idea, they've got a story, maybe they're an artist, and they're like, yes, 2022 is my year. What advice would you give to them?
My first thing to tell every artist is don't just start drawing pages. Make sure you get a script. Make sure you get an editor. If you put in that time and that investment, what you draw is going to be good. It's going to be better than what if you just had an idea and you just started drawing out pages trying to tell a story. Um, that planning you're out there. Start getting in the eye of people. Go on streams, go to streams that are popular, and start making friends in the comments. I had a bad problem, especially during kind of my COVID months, where I could listen to a stream, but I couldn't comment because I couldn't type yet. I couldn't. I was having trouble typing on my phone, so I would go to YouTube and listen to a lot of these streams, but I couldn't engage. But now I try to go and engage whenever I get a chance, because it's important. So do that. Try to build your audience. If you have a YouTube channel, try to build that relationship, and then get your art out, share your art, share your story, kind of the work on that elevator pitch for it, and just well plan out everything. I think.
All right. And so you are also one of the long shots.
I am. Yeah. So I woke up to this mess. Um, yeah. So I go down, and I wake up, and I find out that before I went down, I was so excited, um, because I had gotten word that we'd already for a few months been working on this distribution deal with Liberty Distribution, that they had lined up um, a deal with Spencer's Gifts to put 9 indie titles in their stores in a 60 store test market where they were going to sell the books. And if that test market went well, they were going to go national. And they had bought the books with no buyback, but if they didn't sell, we knew they were going to be liquidated.
Mhm.
And so there was all kinds of stipulations. They had 3 months. At the end of 3 months, they could start to, wean out different titles that weren't selling or whatnot, that kind of stuff. So we kind of went through all this, and right before I went to sleep, we were told by the distributor that they wanted to up the deal from 2,000 of each title to 17,500 copies of each title,
Wow.
and that was gonna take care of my family when I died, because I really thought doctors were not giving me any hope to survive, really, very very slim chance. And so I'm like, okay, well the books are done. I've got all the files there. They're going to be able to print these books, and all the other ones are written, so the story can be done. I've got an artist that can finish it, and I'm thinking this is it. So I go under, thinking that this deal is going to happen. I wake up and I find out that these other books haven't been printed, that there hasn't been a check come in, none of this stuff is going, and so I get a call from Varian, who is the owner of Liberty, and he kind of tells me that, well, the deal seems to be off, and I'm like, man, is there any way we can save it? And he's like, well, he kind of hem-haws around and stuff, but I didn't know what was going on. Well, what had happened was, while I was under, I found out because I got a call from Anthony Figueroa, and he says, do you have time to come to a StreamYard meeting? We do a StreamYard where we're all backstage, and it's not broadcast or anything, but we can record it and have a meeting. And I said, yeah, I can. And he comes in there, and Randy's a part of it, everybody's part of it. And they're like, yeah, they think we've gotten taken. And they start laying out all the details, all the evidence. And I'm like, holy crap, we've gotten taken. Like, none of this is real. It's all fake. So we find out that, and then Dojo-kun starts doing some research on it, and because he's a fraud investigator. Turns out that Spencer's was never part of the deal, and then we find out during a stream that there's this third-party company called B2B. Well, it turns out it doesn't look like B2B actually exists, that it's a fake company that's been made up, and all of that. So we took a gamble on trying to make our dreams happen, and it just did not work. So we're the Longshots. We went for a long shot. We printed 3,000 copies of all of our titles. So it's 9 books, 7 total creators, 5 different publishers, and we got, so our gamble is now everybody else's win, because we're offering all 9 books for $25. So you can get 9 books, all 32 pages, interior, and there's nice looking books. They got 3 staples. We're offering stuff with metal bookmarks, metal prints, sketch cards, all kinds of stuff. The books are printed and in a warehouse, ready to ship.
Excellent. So no waiting on this one.
No waiting at all. We're fulfilling in June, which is why I'm not fulfilling until July on my campaign, because I'll have to drive up to Michigan to fulfill in June. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it looks like there's a lot of really nice books in here.
There are. Some names you're going to recognize. Russ Leach does the art on a couple of books. Obviously, his Only Death Can Save Us is presented in floppy form here. Kind of the beginning of his book. Plus, he created some brand new content that's never been seen before, specifically for that release. God's Hand is in there. I got my book, Hybrids, issue number 1, remastered in there. Shield of the Interceptor by J.D. Rosario, which is also drawn by Russ Leach. We've got the Indy Revolt, which is a number of, kind of an anthology with a black and white with a number of short stories in there. Most of those are standalone, so that's pretty good. The Oswald Chronicles from J.D. Calderon is normally a black and white book, but the first issue now is presented in color here. And so it is just a beautiful, beautiful volume, great release available there. We've got The Well Keeper from Lee Fish, who is a great creator. I had never heard of her until this campaign, until I saw that her book was listed. J.D. Calderon and his company kind of brought her in
Mm-hmm.
for this one, and the book looks great. And then we've got also black and white, and we've got Tall Tales, which is Daphne Leita's book, kind of an anthropomorphic kind of book, and that is in black and white as well. And then one of my favorite titles is Hero Bot Zero, which is a kind of an old Arrow anthology book from back in the mid to late 90s. Had that in there. So this is a full book of full color Hero Bot Zero stories, and it's just a great book. A great all ages book. I've read it. There's a couple of belly laughs in there, where when I read over it, I just found it so humorous. And so yeah, so you get a lot of great books with this. I think that's all 9 of them. I think.
And then the metal bookmarks.
Yeah, you get one for each title. So each title has a metal bookmark that goes with it.
Yeah, these all look great.
Yeah.
And one of the most important things, if we look at the beginning, it is already funded.
It is. It's funded. We've gotten a couple more backers. We're at 60. We've got 3,000 copies of each one of these titles. So we need more backers, because 60 of the books being gone is not quite enough. We need to unload as many as we can. So I do encourage everyone to get over there. We got about a week, 12 days left on this. So a little less than 2 weeks left on this campaign. And I'll be making the rounds for the launch of hybrids, but also tagging on these long shots here, because we definitely want these to go. There's one particular tier that people think is a joke.
Which one's that?
It's the very last one. It's the executive, Spencer's executive experience. This is not a joke, okay? It sounds and reads like a joke. So it says what you get is 1 rental car economy, 3-day luxury motel, bug spray and dewormer provided, 1 voucher for an Italian lunch, a guided tour of the Spencer's corporate office parking lot, with a promise of going inside that will never materialize. Because if you've heard the story, I was not there, but everybody else went to the Spencer's parking lot. We were supposed to go inside, and that never happened. And then they wound up leaving and going down to the Texas Roadhouse, right down the road. And so you actually get to go on the Sawhorse ride at Texas Roadhouse for lunch, for early dinner. And then the next day, we'll take you on a tour of a comic book store basement, because that is what happened. So you get all of those things for $10,000, but you also get an hour-long special of Daphne and Nita Lanning's vlog that they do daily. They'll dedicate an entire hour to just talking to you and finding out like kind of your story and kind of who you are and what you're about. You will meet up with every creator. Most of us, I don't know if not every. I mean, obviously, I don't think Russ Leach is going to hop the pond to get here, but everyone that can will fly out and hang out with you, have lunch with you, and it'll be fun. It'll be a fun weekend. So it is a real tier that no one has jumped on, but yeah, it is. It's funny.
It does sound like a pretty fun tier.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's expensive, but part of that is you're paying for kind of everything you're going to get, plus you're helping us out quite a bit. Obviously, you're going to wind up getting signed copies of books and stuff, but yeah, it's going to be a good time.
All right. Well, Luke, definitely appreciate you coming on. I know it's a little bit difficult for you to, endurance-wise and everything. Is there anything else we should know about either hybrids or for long shots?
Not really. I think we covered most of it. Hybrids is definitely it's in sign up right now, and so there will be an email that goes out with a secret link on Monday morning that everyone can follow when we launch Monday night on the Lord Crackheads live stream. So we'll launch that night. I'll hit live right as we go live there, so you can back the book, or maybe I'll probably go live a couple hours early, just so that I can relax a little bit before the stream. But during sign up, you're going to get a special kind of return customer perk, but you'll also be able to get all the add-ons too, which all the books are going to be available in add-on as well. So yeah, please sign up for that. I think we're sitting at 90 some signups now.
Oh, nice.
I'd like to see us hit 100 before Monday. I think that would be that'd be great to see that happen, because then I mean, hopefully we have more than 100 people come out this time. But being out for so long, yikes! It was
Tough, but everybody loves a comeback story.
yeah, they do. So hopefully it doesn't, being out for so long doesn't hurt me in that sense. But yeah, do that. And if you could, please share that page, that link, out on your own like social media. Let people know to check it out. It may not be your thing. You may not be in. Basically, this is if you like Chris Claremont era X-Men and things like Ancient Alien and conspiracy theories, then you're gonna love this thing. But if that's not your bag, I understand if it's not. But it might be somebody's interest on your timeline. So if you could share that out for me, I would greatly appreciate it. And I'm happy to send anybody that shares that out. I'm happy to give a free PDF file of the the remastered issue 1-2. So if you share it and tag me in it, I'm on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. But if you do that and you tag me in it, then I'll send you a link to the remastered issue 1. And I'd be more than happy to do that as a thank you for your efforts. It's much appreciated.
All right, and everyone, the link to the pre-sign up is in the description to the video, and I will soon have the long shots down there as well. So Luke, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Sorry about the audio issues, but
Yeah, no problem.
I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too, and
I did.
we will see everyone soon. So if you haven't, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back soon.